Deep sea divers. What are your horror stories? Diving the day before a hurricane on a small South Pacific island. Out of nowhere a black and white sea snake venomous wrapped itself around my arm. Apparently this happens from time to time before major storms. They can sense it and look for things that are heading towards the shore so that they don't have to put in so much effort to get out of the sea. As soon as I was in the shallows it uncurled and headed up the beach where it hid under a breadfruit tree. I thought I was going to get bitten to death by a snake at sea. Turns out I was just a taxi for a very calm but rather rushed reptile. This is terrifying. How did you know not to fight it or pull it off? It's a good rule of thumb for a lot of venomous wildlife. If it's not actively attacking you, it's a good idea not to provoke it. If it wants to bite you, it's not going to climb onto you first. Never met my ex-wife. Ed. She's a lovely person. Never want to speak to her again. But she's lovely. I laughed hysterically. Thank you. Free dive to about 160 feet in Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas. It's where a lot of the freediving world records are set. Super neat place. Google a picture. Anyway, I'd never really been past 100 foot freediving. But this was the perfect place to do it. No current. There's ropes to keep you straight and allow a slight pull back up. Scary part is that you become pretty strongly negatively buoyant after like 60 feet. So you're basically hauling ass down while doing nothing and using very little air. So I'm dazed out a bit, feeling good and counting the lines that mark depth, and all of a sudden feel pressure like my trachea is going to collapse, and wake up and realize I've counted to the line that's around 160 feet or so. Very scary moment because I wasn't sure if my body could take the depth or if I had gone too far and wouldn't have enough air to get back up, which is a much slower and more air intensive process. I've been scuba diving a few times and really enjoy it, but the thought of this kind of diving makes me want to throw up. Free diving is really fun coming from a scuba background. There's far less gear, so you feel much more maneuverable and free, haha. It's just learning to breathe hold that's the learning curve. Yeah, just learn to hold your breath or die. The only scare I've had is some jackass in a yacht cruising through our dive location at full throttle. You could hear the boat coming for a solid minute or two before it flew over our heads. Our boat had a dive flag on it, and we had a boy with a dive flag on it. They didn't even slow down. Barracuda, sharks, rays, manatees, dolphins. All cool. Humans are way scarier. I work as a paddling coach on lakes. The number of times I've attempted to gesture at a pleasure craft for them to stop, only to have some dude in cargo shorts wave back like an idiot, is higher than I can count. Some dude in cargo shorts wave back like an idiot. I feel personally attacked. Was doing a boat dive and came up to find 20-foot swells. We just had to chill for a while down under until the boat would calm down and we could actually grab the ladder without getting smashed. I remember seeing the ladder going up and down 6 to 8 feet at a time. I finally grabbed the rope and climbed up as fast as I could. I hung on to the ladder and the boat crew grabbed my BCD and hauled me out of the water and onto the swim step. Half the divers puked on the way back into port. That was the roughest conditions that I have ever been diving in. Night diving is incredibly creepy. You don't realize how dark the ocean is until you are in it. Not my story, but my parents. They like to scuba dive when traveling and have gone several times over the years. Once they visited Mexico and went diving there before I was born. I'm not sure where they were exactly, but my mom was slightly lower down than my dad and looking at the ocean floor. He was looking up and around. My mom had on a gold necklace that was floating in the water around her. It was a sunny day and a fairly shallow dive, so it was sparkling. From my mom's path, she was going along having a grand old time looking at the sea critters below, when suddenly my dad grabbed her and started frantically shaking her arm to get her attention. She looked up and a barracuda was directly in front of her, closer than was comfortable and staring intently, scary teeth on full display. It was focused on the shiny necklace and was just hovering there, transfixed. She slowly moved up her hand to cover the necklace and they slowly and calmly moved away from it, and it took off without bothering them anymore. But still pretty unsettling, and taught my mom to be a little more aware of her surroundings when diving. We go diving in the Florida Keys. Last thing before we go in is to check for sparkly jewelry. The cutest will come from anywhere when they see jewelry sparkling. Sharks don't bother me, but barracudas are true nightmare fuel. My biology teacher told us that she once was swimming in the south of the Philippines because she was trying to find an elusive seahorse, and she went quite deep at night when they are more active, and she got attacked by a shark and her team got out fast. The next day they found a turtle that was bitten in half, shell included, that was pretty big, and it's supposedly the last time she went diving in that area. I did a shipwreck night dive on New Year's Eve one year, and it was spooky as hell. 80 feet down, really small plane. Visibility was obviously not great. I've only done this one night dive, so these slow moving fish would come looming out of the dark. Scarier to me was getting back on the boat, because it got really stormy. You'd be looking up at the ladder, and it'd come crashing down right next to you. The waves were crazy. My brother got hit by the ladder, but not too badly, and we all managed to get back okay. I wear heavy prescription lenses and can't wear contact lenses. Halfway through a week-long liveaboard dive trip, someone dropped a tank on my prescription mask and shattered it. I usually had a second set with me, but could not find them, and only brought one, because hey, nothing had ever happened before. I'm functionally blind without corrective lenses. I can see colors and that's about it. Starting about 5 inches from my face. I was devastated, but decided to go diving anyway, with my husband as my seeing eye diver. I could see my gauges, so I felt reasonably safe. It was among the most amazing 3 days of diving I've ever had. I saw the colors, shapes, and movement, without being focused on the details. I actually took many of the best underwater photos I'd ever taken. I wasn't worried about focusing on a particular coral or fish. I was looking at the larger color patterns. So it didn't turn out to be the disaster I'd thought it was. Honestly, the things that really scare me makes my heart run fast, etc. 2. 1. If my air consumption looks funky, suggesting a leak, or the current is suddenly fast. Basically anything that could lead to a life-threatening issue due to running out of air. When you're deep, you can't just fly back up and be fine. 2. Hurting reefs. Like honestly, if my hand brushes against one, even dead, or gets super close, so the dust unsettles because of the current or something, I feel so guilty.